Hey space travelers, imagine this. Zarkan, a grizzled Klathar merc, watches his elite squad get smoked by humans, those scrappy deathworlders from Terra on Verdis Prime. Across the stars, Captain Lena Voss and her Echo team are just warming up. What makes humans unstoppable? Let's find out. Zarkan's claws scraped the edge of the hollow table, a rhythmic tap that echoed through the dim command deck of his ship, the Razor-Taloned. His yellow eyes, slit like a predator's, hadn't blinked in 10 minutes, locked on the flickering footage playing for the 6th time today. 12 Klathar warriors, his best, bred for war, scales gleaming with pride, stalked through the dense undergrowth of Verdis Prime. Their heat signatures pulsed strong on the thermal feed, weapons raised, tails coiled for action. Then, chaos. One by one, those signatures winked out. A blur, a shadow, a flash of steel, and his team was gone. The final frame froze on a human, small, fragile-looking hoist in a Hotai halter, hoisting his Klathar twice his size off the ground. A blade pressed to the warrior's throat. Zarkan's mandibles clicked, a low growl rumbling in his chest. "Again," he ordered. Jelric, his second-in-command, shifted uneasily, his tail flicking against the floor. "Commander, we've seen it enough. We know they're dead." Zarkan's fist slammed down, the table wobbling under the force. "Play it! Again!" Jelric sighed but obeyed, resetting the feed. The same sequence unfolded. Precision turned to panic, strength to silence. Zarkan leaned closer, studying that human figure. How did something so soft-skinned, so unenhanced, dismantle his elite squad like they were hatchlings? "They're from Terra," Jelric said, voice low, almost a whisper. "A death world. Gravity that'd snap our bones, storms that'd flay us alive, predators that'd make us prey, planets that chewed up weaklings and spat out survivors. But humans? 50 years ago they were primitives, tethered to their rock, barely scratching the stars. Now they were here, carving through his reputation like it was nothing." The door slid open with a sharp hiss, cutting through the tension. Envoy Silas stepped in, his lanky frame draped in silks that shimmered like spilled fuel. His face was a mask of smooth gray, eyes hidden behind a visor, a synthetic puppet for the Nexus Coalition, who liked their secrets dark and their names buried. "Commander Zarkan," Silas said, his voice buzzing like a busted comm unit, "I trust you've dissected your little disaster on Verdis Prime." Zarkan's tail lashed, his patience thinning. "My warriors were the best in 3 sectors. Whatever these humans are, you didn't warn me they'd be this good." Silas tilted his head, a mockery of curiosity, then set a sleek device on the table. It hummed to life, projecting a star map dotted with glowing worlds. "These are our mining hubs," he said, "all claimed by humans under their so-called protection treaties. We're bleeding credits daily. They need to be removed." Zarkan crossed his arms, scales clicking as they rubbed together. "Find another crew. I've lost 12 already. I'm not throwing more into that meat grinder." Silas's lips curled, thin and sharp, a smile that didn't reach his visor. "Triple your usual fee." Zarkan's ears twitched forward. That was serious money, enough to buy a moon, maybe 2. "And," Silas continued, "we'll toss in weapons tech that'll make your claws look like toys, give you an edge." Zarkan's gaze flicked back to the frozen image of the human soldier. Something about them gnawed at him, the way they moved, silent and sure, like they'd been killing since their species crawled out of the mud. "All your data on their special forces," he said finally. "Every detail, every report. I'm not walking blind again." Silas nodded, the motion too smooth, too practiced. "Of course. End this nuisance, Commander. Permanently." Half a galaxy away, Captain Lena Voss wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead as she stepped into the briefing room of Outpost Delta. The air bit with cold, the kind that sank into your bones, but she was still warm from a combat sim that left her heart pounding. Her team, Echo, filed in behind her. 5 soldiers who'd just returned from Verdis Prime with a body count of 12 Klathar and not a scratch on them. The room was stark, carved into a moon orbiting the gas giant Ilara, but it felt like home. Admiral Hayes stood at the head of the table, his face a slab of granite, eyes hard but flickering with approval. "At ease," he said, giving them a slight nod. Fine work on Verdis, damn fine. Lena took her seat, her squad settling around her like pieces of a well-oiled machine. Jackson, all muscle and crossed arms, grinned faintly. Mira, so quiet you'd miss her until she struck, sat still as a statue. Elias tapped at a datapad, already dissecting something. Harper checked his medkit, methodical as ever, while Nora scrolled through Klathar language patterns, her mind a library of alien tongues, no gene mods, no cybernetics. Just humans, shaped by Terra's relentless grind.
"Thank you, sir,"
Lena said, meeting Hayes' gaze. The Klathar were tough, but predictable, moved like they'd never had to think twice. Hayes activated a holo projector, the room dimming as a star map flared to life. Nexus Coalition's pissed. 4 mining sites lost to our treaties. They're not taking it lying down, hiring more muscle. The map shifted, showing new players. Zynseks, insectoids with venom-tipped claws, and Gorvoks, hulking brutes with skin like tank armor. Intel says they're cooking up something big. We need hard proof of their illegal ops to drag before the Galactic Assembly. Lena studied the aliens on display. Specialized killers, every one, built for their worlds, not hers. Terra had taught her team to adapt, not just survive. "Mission?" she asked, voice steady. Hayes pointed to a jagged peak on the map. Tundara, a frozen hellhole with gravity 1.5 times Terra's and temps that'd freeze your spit mid-air. Infiltrate this facility. Nexus is digging where they shouldn't. Get evidence, get out. Jackson let out a low whistle. Sounds like Alaska with a grudge. A ripple of chuckles broke the tension, but Lena's mind was already turning. Nexus wasn't just mining ore. They were after something bigger, something old. She glanced at her team, the best Terra had to offer. "We're ready, sir," she said. Hayes nodded, a rare crack in his armor. "I know you are. Move out." Back on the Razor Talon, Zarkan replayed the Verdis footage one last time, Silas's offer burning in his skull. Triple pay. New tech. Tempting, sure, but those humans, they weren't just soldiers, they were something else. Something that made his scales itch with a feeling he hadn't known in decades. Uncertainty. "Jelric," he barked, "get the crew ready. We've got a job." Jelric hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, Commander." Zarkan stared at the human on the screen, whispering to the empty room, "What are you?" Across the stars, Lena checked her rifle, her team gearing up beside her. Neither knew it yet, but their paths were about to collide, and the galaxy would never be the same. Zarkan paced the command deck of the Razor Talon, his claws clicking against the metal floor like a drumbeat nobody asked for. The star map Silas left behind glowed on the holotable, Tundara's icy dot pulsing like a challenge. Triple pay and shiny new tech were hard to turn down, but that Verdis footage still clawed at his gut. He'd lost 12 warriors. 12. To humans who moved like ghosts and hit like a freight train. "Jelric," he snapped, spinning on his second-in-command. "Round up the crew, we're taking the job." Jelric's tail stiffened, his yellow eyes narrowing. "Commander, you sure? Those humans, they're not normal." Zarkan's mandibles twitched. "Normal or not, we've got bills to pay, and I'm not letting some soft skins scare me off my game." Jelric nodded, slow and reluctant, but he didn't argue. He knew better. Zarkan tapped the comm unit on his wrist, barking orders to assemble his new team. Silas's data had come through files on human special forces, plus dossiers on the muscle Nexus was bankrolling. First up, Zynseks. 6-foot bugs with claws that'd make a buzzsaw jealous and venom that'd drop you in seconds. Then the Gorvoks. 8-foot slabs of meat with hides tougher than tank plating and fists that could dent steel. Zarkan's Klathar were no slouches, but these hires rounded out the playbook. Speed, poison, and raw power. "Set the trap on Tundara," he told Jelric, pointing at the map. "That icebox is our turf now. Sensors in the tunnels, Zynseks in the vents, Gorvoks on the front line. Humans show up, they're done." But something nagged at him. Last night he'd caught a junior Klathar Vorn whispering into a private comm, too quick to cut it when Zarkan walked by. A leak? A traitor? He couldn't prove it, but the itch wouldn't quit. "Keep an eye on Vorn," he muttered to Jelric. "He's been twitchy." Jelric frowned. You think he's feeding Nexus our moves? Zarkan shrugged, scales rasping. Maybe. If he is, he'll regret it. For now, we plan like he's clean. Jellirik didn't look convinced, but he headed off to prep the crew. Zarkan stared at the map, picturing those humans tripping his sensors, walking into a kill zone. Confidence wrestled with doubt. They're cocky, he told himself. They'll come straight at us. Still, his tail flicked, restless. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Lena Voss stood in Outpost Delta's sim room, sweat dripping down her neck despite the moon's chill. Echo Team had just run Tundara's layout for the third time, crushing gravity, sub-zero temps, winds that'd peel your skin off if you stood still too long. The computer threw everything at them, collapsing tunnels, ambushes, the works. Again, she called, voice sharp but steady. Giant, Jackson groaned, adjusting the rifle strapped to his back. Boss, we're good. My arms are screaming already. Lena shot him a look. Good's not enough. Faster this time. Mira nodded silently, resetting her gear, while Elias synced his scanner to the sim's next wave. Harper checked their vitals, muttering, Pulse is steady, but you're all nuts. Nora just smirked, tweaking her translator for Klathar dialects. They ran it again, cutting their time by 10 seconds, moving like a pack, no words needed. Lena's team wasn't built in a lab. They'd grown up on Terra, dodging hurricanes, outrunning wolves, hauling gear up mountains just to eat. That's what made them tick. No fancy mods, just grit and know-how. Post-run, they huddled around Alias's datapad, digging through Nexus intel. Got something, he said, pulling up a file. Tundara's not just a mine. They're excavating old stuff, pre-assembly tech. Lena leaned in, eyes narrowing. That's banned. If they're pulling artifacts, we've got 'em. Nora tapped the screen. Klathar chatter mentions a truth projector. Could be big. Harper whistled low. Big enough to hide with an army? Lena's mind raced. Nexus wasn't playing small. They wanted power, not just profit. Gear up, she said. We hit Tundara, find that projector, and bury Nexus with it. Jackson grinned. My kind of party. But as they prepped, Mira pulled Lena aside, voice barely audible. Picked up a signal. Someone's leaking to Nexus, could be on their end, not ours. Lena's jaw tightened. Traitor in the ranks. Makes it spicier, keep it quiet. We'll use it. Mira nodded, slipping back to her kit. The team didn't flinch. They'd faced worse odds on Terra, where Betrayal was just another storm to weather. Back on the Razor Talon, Zarkan's crew hustled. The Zinseks clicked their mandibles, eager for blood, while the Gorvoks grunted, hefting crude hammers that'd smash a human flat, or so Zarkan hoped. Silas's weapons tech arrived. Pulse rifles for the Klathar, venom amps for the Zinseks, gravity gauntlets for the Gorvoks. This'll even the score, Zarkan said, testing a rifle's weight. Jelric wasn't sold. Tech's nice, but those humans don't fight fair. What if they've got our number already? Zarkan glared. Then we make 'em regret it, load up. We're dropping in 12 hours. Jelric hesitated, then spoke low. Vorn's been on that comm again. I say we cut him loose. Zarkan's claws flexed. Not yet. If he's dirty, he's bait. Let's see who bites. On Tundara, the trap took shape. Zarkan paced the facility, a maze of ice-crusted tunnels and steel chambers, planting sensors himself. Here, he told a Zinsect, pointing to a vent. You smell 'em, you strike. The bug chittered, vanishing into the dark. He waved a Gorvox over. Front gate, anything moves, you crush it. The brute nodded, stomping off. Jelric watched, tail still. You're betting big, Commander. Zarkan's eyes glinted. I don't lose twice. But that itch grew. Vorn lingered near the comm station, claws hovering too long over the controls. Zarkan's gut screamed traitor, but he held off. Proof first, blood later. At Outpost Delta, Echo Team loaded their drop pod, gear simple but lethal, rifles, knives, sonic disruptors Elias had cooked up. Lena briefed them, voice calm but firm. Nexus is dug in, waiting. We've got a leak on their side, means they might know our play, so we improvised. Jackson hefted his pack. Like always. Nora smirked. Klathar won't see us coming, or hear us going. Mira just nodded, eyes on the pod's hatch. Lena checked her watch. 6 hours to Tundara. Let's move. They think they're hunters. Time to flip the script. As the pod sealed, Zarkan stood in Tundara's command hub, replaying Silas's promise in his head. Triple pay, victory, redemption. But the human's shadow loomed larger than any paycheck. "They'll come," he muttered, claws curling, "and we'll be ready." Jelric glanced at Vorn, then back to Zarkan, saying nothing. The galaxy held its breath, two forces spiraling toward a reckoning neither could predict. The drop pod tore through Tundara's black sky, a streak of orange against the endless night, before slamming into the frozen crust with a thud that'd wake the dead. Inside, Lena Voss checked her rifle one last time, her team strapped in tight around her. Elias's scanner beeped. "Energy spikes ahead. They're locked and loaded." Lena's lips twitched, not quite a smile. "Perfect. Let's give 'em a show." Jackson cracked his knuckles. "Making it loud?" She nodded. "Loud and messy. New chords? Harper, shift us south 30 clicks off their doorstep." Harper tapped the controls, the pod lurching as it adjusted. The hatch popped, and a wall of cold hit like a slap. Gravity yanking at their bones, air so frigid it stung. Most folks would have keeled over. Echo Team just shrugged it off. Terra had dished out worse. They hoofed it across the ice, gear clanking, steps heavy but sure. Elias's scanner pinged again. "Sensor nets up. Tight grid." Lena crouched, her squad fanning out. "All right, we're not dodging. Trip 'em. Make it look sloppy." Mira raised an eyebrow, but didn't argue, slipping forward to nudge a sensor with her boot. Alarms screamed to life, red dots flaring on Zarkan's screens back in the command hub. His mandibles clicked, a grin splitting his face. "Got 'em! Zinsects go!" The bugs, 6-foot nightmares with claws like switchblades, scuttled through the vents, venom dripping, eyes glinting. Zarkan leaned into the feed, tail still for once. Predictable little pests. In a cavern just off the main tunnel, the Zinsects poured in, chittering like a swarm of pissed-off hornets. Their compound eyes locked on heat signatures. Echo Team bunched up, easy pickings. Or so they thought. Elias tossed a palm-sized gadget into the mix and it let out a screech that'd make your ears bleed. The Zinsects froze, claws twitching, blinded by the sonic overload. Lena stepped from the shadows, calm as you please. Fancy eyes don't help if you can't trust them. Mira and Harper moved in, zip-tying the bugs before they could blink. "Non-lethal, clean," Jackson smirked. "Like swatting flies." Nora kept watch, translator humming. "They're calling for backup." Zarkan's grin vanished as the Zinsect feeds cut to static. "What the hell?" He slammed the console. "Gorvox, now!" The brutes lumbered out, 8 feet of muscle and mean, hammers swinging. In the tunnels, Echo Team heard the rumble, felt it too, the floor shaking like a bad hangover. Lena signaled Jackson, "Trap 1, go!" He yanked a lever and a steel panel tilted under the lead Gorvox's feet. The beast charged, momentum too much to stop, and Harper hit a button. Mist sprayed from the walls. Nothing to humans, but to Gorvox's lungs it was choking hell. The leader crashed, sliding into cables that snapped tight, pinning him like a hog. "Physics ain't your friend," Jackson said, dusting his hands. The others roared, swinging wild, but the mist hit them too, turning their strength into a stumbling mess. Zarkan's claws gouged the console. "Impossible," Jelric edged closer, voice low. "They're using our own juice against us." Before Zarkan could snap back, the hub's lights flickered, and drones, Nexus's shiny killing toys, swarmed in, lasers hot. "Eliminate all targets," a tinny voice droned. "No survivors." Zarkan's scales bristled. "Silas, you double-crossing." A blast cut him off, searing the wall beside him. Jelric dove for cover, yelling, "They're cleaning house!" Across the cavern, Lena saw the drones zero in on Zarkan. She didn't think, just moved, tackling him out of a beam's path. It grazed her shoulder, pain flaring, but she gritted it out. Zarkan hit the ground, staring up at her, yellow eyes wide. "Understanding beats killing," she said through clenched teeth, rolling to her feet. "You're not the enemy here." Zarkan blinked, scales prickling, doubt creeping in like a bad itch. The drones kept coming, a dozen now, beams crisscrossing the space. Echo Team snapped into gear. Elias lobbed another sonic pulse, frying 3 drones' sensors. Mira picked off 2 with precise shots while Jackson and Harper hauled a busted Gorvox shield to block the rest, Nora shouted over the chaos. Nexus comms are live. They're done with us all. Lena grabbed Zarkan's arm, pulling him behind cover. Fight with us or die here. Pick fast. Zarkan's mind spun. Silas had played him, used him up and tossed him out. These humans, though, they weren't just surviving, they were winning. He hefted his pulse rifle, a growl rumbling deep. Fine, let's take 'em, he fired, nailing a drone square in its core. Jelric hesitated, tail flicking, then joined in, blasting another. Vorn's gone quiet, he muttered. Zarkan snarled. Traitors probably running to Silas. No time to chase. Drones were priority. Lena's squad moved like they'd rehearsed this, weaving through the mess without a word. Jackson chucked a grenade, scattering the swarm, while Elias hacked a terminal mid-fight, pulling data. Got it. Truth projector's real. Buried deep. Nexus wants it bad. The cavern turned into a war zone. Drones buzzing, lasers flashing, Klathar and humans shoulder to shoulder against a common foe. A drone locked on to Zarkan, its barrel glowing red. Lena shoved him aside again, taking another graze, this time her arm. Stop doing that, he barked, but she just grinned, grimacing through the sting. Habit, he fired back, dropping the drone, and for the first time he saw it. These humans weren't just predators, they chose who to save, even an enemy. It rattled him more than the fight. Elias yelled, Data's locked, projectors in the core chamber. Nora picked up chatter. Nexus is sending more, big guns this time. Lena nodded, blood dripping but steady. Fall back to their ship, we're not done. Zarkan pointed down a tunnel. This way. Razor talons docked. Jelric grabbed a fallen rifle, still torn. Loyalty to Zarkan or the old ways? But he followed. The drones pressed, relentless, but Echo Team laid cover fire, moving tight and fast. Jackson hauled Lena's good arm over his shoulder. You're a mess, boss. She smirked. Still prettier than you. Zarkan led the charge, mind racing. Vorn's betrayal stung. Silas's knife hurt worse. But these humans, they were rewriting the rules. He'd set a trap for prey and caught a storm instead. As they hit the hangar, drones hot on their heels, he glanced at Lena. Your kind doesn't quit, huh? She met his gaze, unflinching. Not when there's something worth fighting for. The razor talon loomed ahead, engines cold but ready. Zarkan's doubt hardened into something new. Not fear, not yet, but a flicker of respect. Get in, he growled. We're not dying here. The hatch slammed shut, drones pounding the hull, and for the first time, Zarkan wondered if he'd picked the wrong side. The Razor Talon's hangar bay was a mess of smoke and sparks as Zarkan shoved the hatch shut, drones hammering the hull like they were pissed at the world. Inside, Lena Voss leaned against a crate, blood seeping from her shoulder and arm, but her eyes were sharp, scanning the chaos. Echo Team fanned out, Jackson hauling a busted drone shield for cover, Mira picking shots through a viewport, Harper digging into his medkit. Zarkan barked at Jelric. Engines now! Jelric hesitated, tail flicking fast, his claws hovering over the controls. Commander, Nexus wants us dead. What about their orders? Zarkan's mandibles snapped shut, a growl ripping out. Screw their orders. They turned on us. Silas played us like chumps. Jelric's eyes darted to Lena, then back to Zarkan. Loyalty was his backbone, but this? Teaming with humans? The same soft skins who'd torched their crew on Verdis Prime? It stuck in his craw. Still, the drones weren't asking nicely, and Zarkan's glare could melt steel. He punched the startup sequence, engines humming to life. Fine, he muttered, but this better not bite us. Zarkan ignored him, turning to Lena. Your squad's got guts, I'll give you that. What's the play? She straightened, wincing but steady. We've got data. Nexus is digging up a truth projector, old tech they shouldn't have. We grab it, use it, and burn them with the assembly. Zarkan's tail stilled. Truth projector? That's what they're hiding? Elias piped up from a corner, cradling the busted terminal he'd ripped from the cavern. Yep. Not a weapon, think more like a galactic loudspeaker. Shows what's real, no filter. Nora nodded, translator buzzing. Klathar logs call it a voice of the ancients. Nexus wants it quiet. Lena met Zarkan's gaze. Help us get it and we all walk away with something. Nexus off your back, proof for us." Zarkan's claws flexed. He didn't trust humans, not after Verdis, but Silas's betrayal stung deeper. "Deal," he growled. "But if you cross me, I'll gut you myself." The ship rattled as drones kept up the barrage. Jackson slid into the weapons station, grinning like a kid with a new toy. "Let's swat these bugs." He lit up the turrets, blasts tearing through the swarm. Harper knelt by Lena, slapping a patch on her shoulder. "Hold still, boss. You're leaking," she smirked. "Just a scratch." Mira kept firing, cool as ice, while Elias hauled the terminal to the command deck. "Core chambers 2 levels down," he said, sinking it to the ship's grid. "That's where the projector's stashed." Zarkan pointed at a hatch. "Jelric, take 'em. I'm holding the bridge." Jelric's tail lashed, but he waved Echo Team on. "Let's move, soft skins." Down in the core, the air was thick with frost and the hum of old machinery. The truth projector sat center stage, a sleek silver rig etched with symbols that danced when you stared too long. Jelric froze, claws twitching. "That's it? Looks like junk." Nora stepped up, running her translator over it. "Not junk. Alive. It's broadcasting ready." Elias plugged in, fingers flying. "Data syncing, Nexus logs, dig records, all of it. They've been stripping pre-assembly sites for months." Lena nodded, grim. "That's our ticket. Activate it." Jelric's voice cut through, sharp. "Wait. You're trusting this thing? What if it fries us?" Lena turned, steady despite the blood. "It's a risk. But Nexus is the bigger one. You in or out?" Jelric's scales bristled. He'd followed Zarkan through hell, raids, wars, backstabs. But this felt different. Humans weren't just prey anymore. They were calling shots, and Zarkan was listening. His gut screamed to bolt, grab a pod and run. But those drones? Nexus's knife in their back? He clenched his fists, morality wrestling with survival. He grunted, stepping back. "But I'm watching you." Elias hit the switch, and the projector flared. Blue light pulsing, symbols glowing hot. A wave rolled out, not sound, but feeling, like the truth was sinking into your bones. Back on the bridge, Zarkan felt it too, gripping the console as the ship shuddered. "What'd you do down there?" he barked into the comm. Lena's voice crackled back. "It's live, broadcasting Nexus's dirt. Every ship in range is getting it." Jackson whooped as the turrets shredded the last drone. "Party's over out here," the hull quieted, but Zarkan's screens lit up. "Nexus comm scrambling," panic bleeding through. Silas's voice hissed over an open line. "Cut the feed, you fools!" Too late. The projector wasn't just spitting data, it was showing the galaxy what Nexus did. The lies, the digs, the hit on Zarkan's crew. Even Jelric, sulking by the hatch, felt it shift something in him. Lena climbed back to the bridge, Harper steadying her. "We've got 'em," she said, voice rough but firm. "Assembly's gotta hear this." Zarkan stared at her, scales prickling. "You saved my hide twice. Why?" She shrugged, wincing. "Killing's easy. Understanding's hard. We need you alive. You know too much." He didn't get it, not fully, but that flicker of respect grew. Jelric slunk in, tail low. "Commander, this is nuts. We're with them now?" Zarkan's eyes narrowed. "Yeah, we are." "Nexus made us prey. They don't get to win." Jelric's claws scraped the floor, torn but silent. He'd stick, for now. The razor talon lurched as engines kicked full throttle. "Hangar doors are locked," Zarkan growled. Mira slid to a panel, hands quick. "Not for long." She bypassed the codes and the massive doors groaned open. Tundara's ice glinting beyond. Lena slumped into a seat, blood pooling under her patch. "Get us out," she said. "We've got a date with the assembly." Zarkan punched the controls, the ship roaring free. Drones were toast, but Nexus wasn't done, he could feel it. The projector hummed on the deck, a lifeline and a weapon. For the first time, he wondered what humans really wanted. Not just to survive, but to change things. And Jelric? He watched, quiet, picking his side, one heartbeat at a time. The razor talon punched through Tundara's atmosphere. ice clouds swirling in its wake as the engines roared like a beast finally let loose. Inside, Lena Voss slumped in a chair, Harper fussing over her shoulder with a med patch while she waved him off. "I'm fine, quit hovering," he snorted. "Yeah, fine, with 2 holes in you." Across the deck, Zarkan gripped the controls, yellow eyes flicking between the stars and the truth projector humming on the table. Its blue glow steady, broadcasting Nexus's dirty laundry to anyone with a receiver. Jalric stood off to the side, tail still, watching the humans like they might sprout claws of their own. The drones were toast, but 3 Nexus ships blinked onto the sensors, weapons hot. "We're not clear yet," Zarkan growled. Jackson slid into the pilot seat, cracking his knuckles. "My turn, boss?" Lena nodded, grimacing as she shifted. "Show 'em how we roll," he grinned, yanking the controls, and the Razor Talon danced, diving into Tundara's gravity well for a slingshot turn, skimming the atmosphere to fuzz their signal, then spinning off a glancing hit like it was a trick shot. Jalric's jaw dropped. "That's insane!" Zarkan's mandibles clicked, half impressed, half annoyed. "Hey, that's human." Nora smirked, tweaking her translator. "Death World driving beats your fancy autopilots?" The Nexus ships fumbled, targeting systems choking on Jackson's chaos, and Elias patched the projector into the comm array. "Broadcasts live," he said. "Full spectrum, they're feeling it." And they were. The projector didn't just send data, it hit you like a memory you didn't know you had. Every ship in range got the full show. Nexus's illegal digs, the backstab on Zarkan, the drone massacre. It wasn't words, it was truth, raw and unshakable. Zarkan felt it in his scales, a shiver he couldn't shake. Jalric's tail flicked, his grumble softening. "They'll know Silas screwed us." Lena nodded, voice tight. "Assembly's picking it up too, look!" The sensors pinged, galactic assembly cutters closing in, sleek and official. The Nexus ships peeled off, tails between their legs, rather than tangle with the law. For now, the Razor Talon was in the clear. Days later, Zarkan stood in the assembly's grand chamber, a dome of glass and light orbiting some neutral rock. Echo Team flanked him, Lena's arm in a sling but her stance solid. The projector sat center stage, its glow dimmed but still alive, as delegates from 100 worlds stared down. A squid-like counselor waved a tentacle. "Explain this mess." Lena stepped up, calm as ever. "Nexus broke treaty law, dug up pre-assembly tech, tried to wipe us out to cover it. The projector's proof," Elias synced it to the chamber's system, and that truth hit again. Delegates flinching as they felt the betrayal, the fight, the stakes. Zarkan added, voice rough. "They turned on me too, hired me, then burned me. This ain't just human business, it's all of ours." Jalric hung back, scales dull, still wrestling with it all. He'd stuck with Zarkan out of duty, but this? Standing with soft skins, spilling Klathar blood to save him? It twisted his gut. Yet that broadcast... He'd felt Nexus's knife too, and it stung worse than pride. The council buzzed, votes tallied fast. "Nexus operations in human space are suspended," the squid announced. "Investigations on. Coalition's grounded till we sort it." Cheers rippled through Echo Team, Jackson fist-bumping Harper, Mira cracking a rare smile. Zarkan's tail flicked, relief mixing with something heavier. Silas was down, but not out. Not yet. Later, as Echo prepped to ship back to Terra, Zarkan caught Lena outside the chamber, stars glinting through the dome. "They offered me asylum," he said, claws flexing, "turned it down. I'm facing my mess. My crew, my calls. But I gotta know something." She tilted her head, waiting. "You humans, you've got the juice to run this galaxy. Adapt like nothing I've seen, fight like devils, even play nice when you don't have to. Why not take it all?" Lena glanced at the stars, her good hand resting on her sling. "We could. Terra taught us how to scrape by, claw our way up, but surviving's not the same as living. Ruling's a cage. We'd rather explore, learn, connect. Took us 1,000,000 years to figure that out." Zarkan's eyes narrowed, processing. Klathar lived for the hunt, the win. Dominance was the prize. But these humans, they'd saved him, not for leverage but because they wanted to. That projector didn't just expose Nexus, it showed him something else. A species that could kill you or pull you up, and chose the harder road. Your death world, he said slow. It's a teacher, huh? Lena smirked. The toughest. Kicked our asses till we learned to share the sandbox, he grunted, a sound that might have been a laugh. Maybe. We've got some catching up to do. As Echo Team headed for their shuttle, reports trickled in. Mercenary outfits galaxy-wide were nixing human contracts. Too risky, the chatter said. Deathborn don't just fight, they turn you. Zarkan watched them go, Jellirik at his side. We're done hunting him, aren't we? Jellirik asked, voice quiet. Zarkan nodded, slow. Yeah, but I'm not done with him. Gonna take this back. Teach our own. Nexus won't be the last to try us. Jelrik's tail flicked, a spark of purpose lighting his eyes. Guess we've got work. On the shuttle, Lena settled in, Jackson ribbing her about the sling. Next time, duck, huh? She chuckled, easing back as Terra's coordinates locked in. Nora leaned over. Think Zarkan'll stick to his word? Lena shrugged. He's got a shot. Saw something in us, might spread it. Elias grinned. Legend of the Deathborn, huh? Not bad. Harper smirked. Better than those crazy bastards from Earth. The shuttle hummed, stars streaking past, and Lena let herself relax. They'd won not just a fight, but a crack at something bigger. Word spread fast. Merc crews swapped tails. Humans who'd outfoxed Zinsex, dropped Gorvox with tricks, turned Klathar from foes to friends. It wasn't just fear now. Respect crept in, slow but sure. On some backwater station, a Zinsect clicked to a Gorvox. You hear? They don't just kill, they talk you out of it. The Gorvox grunted, crazy, but smart. Back on Klathar turf, Zarkan faced his people, the projector's lesson in his claws. We've been hunting wrong, he said. Time to learn a new way. Jelric backed him, voice steady for once. The shift was small, but it was a start. Lena's shuttle touched down on Terra, the air thick with that familiar bite. Home. She stepped out, the team scattering to their lives, but her eyes lingered on the sky. We're not done out there, she muttered. The galaxy was big, messy, full of fights waiting to happen, but if they could turn a guy like Zarkan, maybe they could turn more, not with guns, but with that human knack for bending the rules, making allies out of enemies one stubborn soul at a time. The Deathborn legend wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about showing the stars there's a better way to play the game. So, that's the deal, folks. Humans proving they're more than muscle, Zarkan finding a new road, and a galaxy starting to listen. Echo Team didn't just dodge a bullet, they fired back with something stronger, understanding. And out there, among the stars, words getting around. Mess with the Deathborn, and you might just end up on their side. Pretty wild, right? And there you have it. Zarkan and Echo Team turning the tables on Nexus, proving humans don't just fight, they connect. From Tundara's ice to the Assembly's halls, it's a win for grit and smarts. What a ride, right? If you love this, smash that like button, drop a comment. What'd you think of Zarkan's turnaround? Subscribe to Sci-Fi Space for more epic sci-fi drops every week. Hit the bell so you don't miss out. See you in the next galaxy.